As many of us realize in our daily lives, India is actually producing a huge amount of waste, and actually we're producing much more waste than we've ever done before. So much so that the amount of just plastic waste that we're producing has actually increased by over 100% in the last 15 years. And in the last 8 years, our electronic waste, which is chargers and mobiles and laptops, has increased by 7 times. This is really large. And if you think of it, you're picking up all of this waste, and most municipalities spend over 50% of their budget picking our trash and throwing it somewhere. But even that somewhere is becoming a big crisis now, because when you're picking up the waste and throwing it, that somewhere, due to the spread of urbanization, that somewhere has become someone's home, and you can't really be throwing that waste there. And we've all read from the papers that in Bangalore, in Kerala, as municipalities are taking the waste out further and further away, villages are now organizing and quite rightly refusing to be the toxic dump sites of urban India. So there's firstly a problem of too much waste and where to put it. But waste itself is extremely polluting. And many of us don't realize it because we smell it and we see it, and it's visual pollution. But it's actually much more than that. When you throw trash, what happens is the dew at night, the drizzle, the monsoon, all of that comes in and combines with, say, the toxic pesticides on the apple peel that you've thrown away, the colorants that are inside your plastics which come out in packaging, the leftover household cleaners that we've thrown out. All of that comes out and makes this really toxic soup called leachate, and that toxic soup basically goes right down because it's liquid and gets into the groundwater. In fact, studies from outside of India are showing that dump sites are actually over a period of 20 years becoming cancer clusters, because you have this hugely toxic water which is contaminating and which people are having to drink. But we also know that in mountainous parts of this country, we're actually dumping all our trash in water, in rivers, in streams. So we're actually polluting a lot of that. Then on top of that, because waste is not really picked up very easily, there's a very common practice, particularly in smaller towns in India, of burning the waste, because what else do you do? The problem with burning the waste is it produces, particularly if it has paper or if it has certain kinds of plastics, it produces a group of chemicals called dioxins and furans, which are actually amongst the most toxic chemicals ever known to mankind, and India has actually signed on the Stockholm Convention to phase them out. They're amongst the 12 most phaseable chemicals out. And even if you don't burn the waste, and I think Bombay knows that story about how plastic bags can actually devastate a city by blocking the sewage system. But even if you don't do anything, just something as elementary as your polystyrene coffee cup is good enough to provide a home to vectors, and you have a breeding ground for mosquitoes like dengue. And some of the stuff that we don't see is how our waste in India, 3% of India's greenhouse gas emissions are due to bad waste handling. So waste is really much worse than we imagine. It's much worse than something stinky and ugly and nowhere to put. And as India urbanizes, this is actually going to get even worse, because we're going to have less place and more poison. But we are in a kind of lucky situation. 2 million waste pickers in this country recycle 20% of our waste. What they do, and most of you would have seen them, you've seen people who just go and pick out the paper and the plastic and the metals from the community bins or from the landfills or from the streets, and they have this huge bag. Sometimes they're on a cycle rickshaw. And according to The Economist, India has, thanks to these people, one of the highest recycling rates in the world. And what they really do, and studies show, is that they are a hugely important factor in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions from waste, because they're reducing the need for mining new materials, and they're reducing the amount of waste that goes into landfills, which then spew out all of this greenhouse gas. But there's a problem. Their work is extremely hazardous. which means that when they go to your community landfills, community dumping sites, or even the landfill, first of all, there's a huge amount of exposure to dust. And a lot of waste pickers actually suffer from chronic respiratory ailments. I mean, can you imagine having a mini asthmatic attack every single day? How oppressive is that? They also have dogs who bite them. Dog bites are very common because dogs think of them as competitors foraging for waste. They have rat bites. They're dealing with our dirty diapers. I mean, they're basically being forced to hold human shit. And we found that there was almost nobody in the richest part of India's NDMC, the richest municipality. There was not a single woman who was not, we did a whole health study, who was not acutely anemic. And I won't even begin going to children. We'll talk of that later. But the other thing is that no one says thank you for their recycling. In fact, in India, we treat the waste pickers exactly as we treat the waste. So they embody our waste. So the police will ask them for a bribe to be able to walk on the road and pick the trash. The municipality will ask them for a bribe because they're going to the dustbin, which is owned by the municipality. And people don't like waste pickers, and they don't like their dirty persona. This is, so basically their lives are extremely brutal. But Chintan, which means another perception, another way of seeing, converts waste into wealth. And we do this in a multiple of ways, but we try to do it intergenerationally. And we do it not only through jobs. And let me just explain what we do. We work through 4 programs. The first one of these is called Voice for Waste, because our logic is that if waste recyclers don't have a voice in the city, if they're not heard, how are they going to be included in the city's plans for handling waste? And then they'll always be outside the formal waste management system, and they'll always be excluded, and they'll never be able to upgrade. So what we've done is, our building block is to organize waste pickers. So we spent a lot of time organizing them. They have their own organization called Safai Sena. We trained them about legal rights and then worked with the police to cut down on harassment, in fact, and bribery, 80% reduction in the last 10 years. We've got identity cards from municipalities, but above all, I believe that the single biggest thing about this is that the waste pickers themselves have learned to see themselves as the great environmentalists that they are. But then their jobs. So that's scavengers to managers, our next program. What we really do here is what we do is offer professional services. And those services are related to handling waste, because obviously handling waste is a big problem, and all of us are always very bothered by this. We really believe that our biggest beneficiaries in this are not so much waste pickers as the 100,000 people whose waste we handle every single day in Delhi and close to Delhi in Ghaziabad, and soon, of course, in Haryana. And initially, Chintan got a contract from the New Delhi Municipal Council to pick up waste door to door. And seeing that work, several years later, we just recently got another contract from the poorest municipality. And what that really means to us is we just have the capacity to formalize jobs. Many of our clients are really large corporate clients, and in this photo you can see that the Indian Railways is a client. We handle waste from the several railway stations in Delhi, and we've been looking at electronic waste. But what we really do, because I know this is complex, so there's doorstep waste collection. The reason it's really important is because we don't really have infrastructure to pick up our own waste and go pop it in next door. There is no next door anymore. So you have to walk or drive or do something quite far away. So here you have someone who, for a very basic fees, 50 bucks, 20 bucks, depending on the kind of locality, will pick up your waste and take it away for you. So no headache, nothing. Then we segregate waste, because the thing about waste, the money in the waste, is basically how well can you segregate it. I mean, there are 52 kinds of plastics, and obviously we don't segregate it into 52, but we don't segregate it into 5 either. Then you do value addition, because for example, this PET bottle, you will remove many parts of it, including the label, and get much more money and put it into flakes. And of course there's composting, and there's electronic waste, which I really do want to talk about, which is that there's a whole new world of e-waste, like I was mentioning. And Chintan worked with the Ministry of Environment and the Germans through GIZ, and we worked on getting a policy along with big brands, but then only registered collectors are authorized now to collect e-waste, and people like us are supposed to only give it to registered collectors. So we are now training informal sector actors. This is a whole new world for us, to go and collect that e-waste, so that women in this photograph don't have to take these motherboards, dip them into that acid that you're seeing, scrub it, put it in that pile there. When they're through with that pile, they will burn it. It will be then removed and a little bit of copper extracted. So we want to move away and move to safe recycling. How is this sustainable? Basically, waste is a commodity, and we have dipped into the knowledge of the informal sector in order to play that game better. And of course, there's service fees, which means that our scavengers to managers program basically becomes sustainable depending on the specific program. So no child in trash. Obviously, there's nothing green if a child is recycling your waste. Our No Child in Trash program, where we run non-formal schools and put these kids into municipal schools and make them stay there, mostly girls. I'm very proud of the Knowledge Power program. I mean, I think that's what makes Chintan really unique, because since 2006, there has been not a single rule related to waste that has not included waste pickers, whether it's rule or whether it's policy, whether it's on climate change or whether it's on plastics. And the budget this year announced universal health insurance to waste pickers, and Chintan was on that committee, and it was a complete nightmare. We worked really hard. It was the happiest moment. We're widely quoted for our research. The World Bank in Washington, D.C. uses some of our numbers to drive its policy, and so do a lot of academicians. Milestones: last year, we won the first US Secretary of State Award for Innovation, and last week, we won this third prize at the United Nations BMW Intercultural Innovation Award. So how do we work? We have a really smart board, and what our board does, the way we selected the board is basically, there are so many blind spots that every organization has. So the idea was, how do people committed to the issue, but with knowledge that we don't have, how do they come in and help build a robust board? So the board advises, its most important role really has been about keeping Chintan on track, not letting us do things which they believe are not in our area of competency, but also denying, strategizing, helping with difficult situations and all of that. Founder, that's myself. Basically what I have been able to bring in is, I spent a lot of time teaching myself the technical issues before everyone got into it. So I brought in global knowledge, credibility, networks, and as a writer and columnist, I was able to help make the issue visible. And all of that was initially because now there are many more of us, and my role is obviously changed, or not changed, but it's less. And above all, our knowledge leaders from the informal sector. Our waste pickers and small junk dealers have gone to climate change talks and heard their voice, made their voices be heard. Our research is participatory, so that we're able to capture what the opinions, the senses, the demands, and the changes on the ground are in the areas where we work. And obviously a lot of the supervision for the Scavengers to Managers program is now happening via trained waste pickers. A well-organized team, and we're trying to get better and better organized so that we can keep our staff motivated, because they're already very committed, but how do you keep them for the long term? Our competitors, and really the difference between all our competitors and Chintan is we're very small, but we work to change the ecosystem. Because for us it matters that there's environmental and human costs to waste. For most other people, it would be either livelihoods, which is really important, or it would be a lot of other kinds of things, doing some research. But Chintan works in the ecosystem, and that's why we cover all four of those areas. So the numbers. These are our numbers. This is what we want to do in the coming years till 2016. And these are the resources that we need for really creating those. So what you're going to see is, and these are all in lakhs incidentally. So what you're going to see is that we've basically managed to get 40% in scavengers to managers, and the good thing about that is that is sustainable. So you don't constantly need to plow into the biggest chunk of fund that we need, because we invest in it, we create jobs, and those jobs don't need us to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. And on the other hand, people are actually going to get a cleaner waste. Now this is what I want to spend a couple of minutes on. What is the plan? What is our plan? Now if you look at right now and you look at 16, there are really two trends I want to point out. Look at the fuchsia color right on top, waste handling. Currently, we get only 20% of our revenues from it, and we want to change that to 40%. Why? Because firstly, that enables people to, that enables us to create jobs. Right? Because and what does waste handling means? It means people are going to give us contracts to handle their waste, so we can create jobs. Secondly, it helps those people who give us the contracts, and remember, it's not just government municipal bodies, it's hotels like the Taj in Delhi. It helps them to rest assured that their waste is being handled properly, so they don't have that problem either. And it gives them some green karma. And then if you look at, so that will, now why are we not going beyond 40%? In 2009, when there was the recession, one of the first studies ever done, in fact we wrote about it in the New York Times, was how the recession actually forced the commodities market to plunge, and waste was one of those impacted sectors where nothing was selling. And consequently, we want to hedge our bets and not put 60%, because the economic uncertainties might then really rebound on our model for fundraising. And what's also interesting is our individual donors, which we want to double, and again with the same logic, because Chintan is about the ecosystem of waste. So we really have to get people involved in our work, and the only way to get them involved in our work is for them to contribute. It could be really small amounts, but we need them to be ambassadors of the idea that waste can create social wealth for these really marginal people. And so we want to move to that. It's also our awareness and communication strategy. Before I run out of time, I just want to show what we have and what we need. And what we have, we've raised some of the money for next year. And over the coming years, Chintan has to raise nearly 7 crores to scale up the way it wants to. Of course, I do want to mention that the policy shifts that we've done is an important strategy for scale up for Chintan, because Chintan cannot possibly go everywhere and do our model. But when you have an equal playing field for waste pickers, and you have sensible policy and rules related to how to handle waste, new innovators can come into the space and not have to hit their heads against the wall, but in fact use their resources to be even more creative. So that's a model of scale up. And of course, there's the other model of scale up, which requires money, and we want both. So we don't want, I think none of us want our computers to be recycled the way they are currently by little children. And let's prepare for a clean, equitable urban India. Thank you.